This is Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shake your body.
Wake your fuck ass up. That crust out your eyes.
There it is. Andre Braugher. You know him as Captain Ray Holt from the comedy series Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And they're gearing up for a new season, right?
Yeah, we are. This is the end of the second is airing right now, and we start the third in the middle of July.
Now, I love how your character really presented these Beyonce Knowles tickets to the other character.
Right.
Beyonce Knowles. Are you a Beyonce fan by any chance?
I am, as a matter of fact. I wouldn't put the Knowles in it, nor would I describe her as being a rock musician, But that's what Ray Holt is like. He's a little square,
He's a little square. He got that plain, that dry kind of delivery in his humor too. Right? He doesn't even know he's being funny when he's being funny.
Yeah, he doesn't, as a matter of fact. As far as he's concerned, this is an incredible treat. You know what I mean? That he was turned on to by some young people. You know what I mean? And so, having looked her up on the internet, you know what I mean? He's gonna treat his detectives to something special. So that's what he's like.
He's a great leader. I should get you guys tickets, right?
Yeah, you should.
All right.
Prior to talking about Beyonce, Andre, we were talking about hip hop and battling and that whole culture. Are you a big hip hop fan? And if so, who do you listen to?
I am, as a matter of fact. I listen to a lot of different, music. What's happening lately is that I don't know. I like J. Cole a lot.
Wow. Okay.
I have to say, Dark Twisted Fantasy, Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is the best album I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard a lot of albums. I listen to it again and again, and I just say to myself, it's a masterpiece. But there's just there's a little something happening for me in music, and that the musicality is going out of it. You know what I mean? So I just want more music in rap. You know what I mean? Because there's an album that's well hyped today, you know what I mean, and I listen to it, and it has very little musicality, you know what I'm saying, and so I'm just looking for just more artistry, I think, in albums these days, so.
The voice had to be you just cannot deny this voice. Perfect for as a narrator. You had a chance to narrate a bunch of classic pieces, including you narrated it for the Olympics?
Yeah. I do. I get turned on by that kind of material. It's epic, and the Olympics has always sort of loomed large in my mind. You know what I mean? So ever since 1976, the 76 Olympics, when I was a kid in Mississippi, I was watching, the sprinters go at it. And ever since that time, I've just been totally turned on, especially to the Summer Olympics. And then I was introduced to the Winter Olympics, and I have to just marvel at the strength and speed and precision of these athletes. The Winter Games is something special. So when I was given the opportunity, I just jumped on it. I love that kind of stuff.
1976 was a big year for the Olympics, and that was the same year. Y'all know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do.
Where am I going?
Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner won the decathlon.
Yes.
That year, right?
Yes, he's America's hero.
America's hero.
Yeah.
And that's what I say, because that's how I got to know him as a kid. So now Bruce is front and center for coming into our households and forcing people to have a conversation that most of us never had about gender identity and transitioning into a woman. What did you think about that when you first found out about it?
I don't want to be a complete idiot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's gender is very hard to define.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we'd like to put it into, a simple binary, you're either this or you're either that. But obviously people throughout time have been breaking those rules because they just feel differently about what's going on inside. So Bruce Jenner happens to be, it had to be Bruce Jenner because, people who are transgendered have been around for a long time, but America's only prepared to hear from Bruce Jenner. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people who are not famous who America doesn't want to hear from. You know what I'm saying? People who are already marginalized or something. So Bruce Jenner happens to be, in his own way, the perfect, sort of carrier of this message, because in a certain way, only a hero could carry this message because everybody else is marginalized,
Yeah. That's great to hear from you. But going back into your career,
We've seen all these opportunities as you got in from this series to being able to narrate at the Olympics. And a lot of times from the outside looking in, when it comes to celebrity, everything just looks linear on their path. So I'm curious to know about some of the opportunities where you messed up. And you were like, what the hell did I just do?
You mean the project itself turned out to be something I shouldn't have done?
It can be that, or one where maybe you auditioned and it just went completely outside how you saw it in your head.
When you think back to the 90s, and I came up and, Heather was talking about the rap battles, my career has always been, I've been very fortunate in my career because I don't get many auditions, and when I look back to the time that I was, I don't know, a 26, 27-year-old actor, I would go months without an audition, you know what I mean? And so there was a kind of desperation, a need. I had to get that job, you know what I'm saying? So my concentration and my focus was above and beyond other people, who had plenty of opportunities, you know what I mean? So when I look back, and sometimes I would work in a course of a year, I might work 3 times. Well, I only had 5 auditions, you know what I'm saying? And so really the whole point is that, when I walk into an audition, this is just my thing, and I'm not saying it's a prescription for anybody else, but I walk in prepared to show them exactly what I'm going to do with the role. I'm not fooling around or exploring or all these different things. If you started rolling right now, this is what I would do with the role. So I'm prepared to go right now. I've put the thought into it. I've developed a character. I've made strong, positive, explosive choices for myself, and that's what sort of pulled me through. And auditioning is an art. It's not, audition is not acting. You know what I mean? It's weird in that way. But I was prepared, from the day that I stepped out of school. I said, I'm going to get this job. You know what I mean? Because there's a hunger, and there's also a kind of, frankly, a desperation. You know what I mean? This is the path that I've chosen. And when I came out of school in 1988, there were not a lot of role models. You know what I mean? Who's doing it? Who's making a living doing what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying? So I felt as though I needed to blaze a path for myself. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when I got Glory, this was a long time ago, I didn't know how to act for the camera. I had never had real experience in front of the camera. And I remember very fondly that, Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman really put their arms around my shoulders, and it said, this is how you do it. Walk this way, and I learned so many fundamental lessons about what it means to be a professional actor by watching these guys. And I watched them like a hawk, because that's just this. This is my shot. And I'm not going to blow it, I learned that location is not vacation, you know what I mean? I learned to study my lines. I learned to understand the value of rehearsal, no matter how short it is, you know what I mean? This is the only rehearsal you're going to get, so you really have to make it as valuable as possible. And it's all fueled really by the necessity to get this next job. So when you look back through my career, just to double back on the question that you started, it looks linear, but actually it's the next good job. And I've turned down a lot of auditions because, coming up in 1988 when I came out of school, the roles were third thug from the left. You know what I mean?
Third thug from the left.
And you know what I'm saying? And Act 1 drug dealer. You dig what I'm saying? And I had to turn those roles down. You know what I mean? It's just, and my motivation is very simple. I just want to make my mother proud. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so when my mother looks on television, and I played bad guys and I played good guys, but they're all human beings, complex human beings. You know what I mean? Because we all have individual stories, and we wind up in different places, and as did my characters. But I want my mother to understand that I'm playing a real human being, because when I arrived on the scene, black men are not. When I arrived, black men are not human beings. They're demonized, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's part of the vile propaganda,
Mm-hmm.
So I've just made a decision that I can't change the world, but I'm just going to do my part, you know what I mean? So, I've struggled a bit, in the course of the career, and Amy knows that. She's been with me since, for 30 years. So she knows, the dark times as well as the good times. But, I'm proud of my career, you know what I mean? And so when I look myself in the mirror every morning, I say, I'm proud of that guy, you know what I'm saying? So I just stick with that.
You won.
Man, Andre Braugher, man. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Proud of you too, man. We want to have you play. Well, I gotta
Well,
rephrase this here.
it's in honor of National Honesty Day. That's today, Thursday, April 30th.
Yeah.
So we have a sack full of questions.
The mystery sack. And we want you to pull some
gold lame sack.
Yeah. Stick your hand in my sack. All right, that's up next. Sway in the mornings. Kanye West, Andre Braugher is here. He said this is the favorite album of the best album you've heard ever. Is that?
This is the finest album. Period.
Period.
Yes.
Dark Twisted Fantasy. Kanye West. I like that. That's one of my favorite. That's actually my favorite one of his albums.
Is that the album he has? Let's give a toast to the assholes.
Yep.
I like that song.
Album.
Yeah.
I like The Throne too. That was one of my other favorite albums that he did with Jay-Z. Andre Braugher is here. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Make sure you're watching it this Sunday.
Yeah.
On Fox. And man, since you're here, Heather said it's National Honesty Day.
It is. It's National Honesty Day today.
Okay.
That was created by Hirsch Goldberg. He's the author of the Book of Lies. So we figured what better way to get Andre to come clean and tell some truths by sticking his hand in your sack.
Go ahead and reach in.
Dig deep, dig deep.
Put your hands into Sway's sack.
That sounds gross.
It's Sway's Mystery Sack on Shade 45.
And the game is real simple. You pick out 3 questions, read them out loud, answer them one at a time, and you have to answer them honestly.
I have to answer them honestly. Okay.
Yeah, in honor.
The other way.
Boy, I haven't done this since college. Truth or dare. Okay. Okay. So I didn't wear my glasses today. So this says, what's the last lie you told?
That should be good.
Go ahead and answer that first.
I have to actually answer that?
Yes.
Answer that first. Answer that one first.
Okay, don't even look at those.
Yeah.
What's the last lie I told?
Oh.
Wow, boy.
So many?
That's the last lie I told. I'm going to have to lie. The last lie I told, I guess the last lie I told was that
that you wanted to do this interview?
No, this is you guys have dug deep. I thought this was going to be a dangerous contest, right? You know what I'm saying? What's the last lie I told? Well, the last white lie I told was that I would have my survey in by Friday to my manager concerning an endorsement deal, and it was not done on time because of an excuse. So,
Wow, that's good. That's that Juilliard education.
I have to. Yes.
Well put.
Well put. Question number 2.
Because of the excuse. I like that. Yeah. You ready?
Boy, I'm really sorry I came on this show. Hold on, what's going on? Describe the first time you ever got your ass whooped. Okay, so this is Utica County, Mississippi, 1967.
Oh damn!
Oh, who?
Mississippi.
So
Right, police?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. This is not by police. This is by my grandfather. So what happens is I almost set the house on fire with some paper airplanes, right? And the house is a very small, crudely built house in Mississippi at this time. You know what I mean? So so my grandmother wakes up and she discovers that the house is on fire, and they run out to the well and they draw up buckets and we throw water on the side of the house. And there's a huge hole burned in the side of the house. And they all turn and they look at me because they were all napping and while I was burning down the house, And so they said, how did this happen? And it happened because there was a mop that was set back up on the side of the house with embers on it, right? And so I went off to do my thing. And so I had been playing with it, with a fire, and I managed to burn a hole in the side of the house. My grandmother, who, she's a detective, right? She should have been working for the FBI. So she fishes around and she finds all the evidence, you know what I mean, that I left around the house, including the paper airplanes. And she comes back and she accuses me of setting the house on by throwing the paper airplanes up against the house. And I said to her, Grandma, you lying on me.
Oh. What?
And so at that moment, I remember that moment because everybody froze. There's my grandfather and there's my grandmother, and we're all in disbelief in a certain way. You know what I mean? And I realized the gravity of what I had done in that moment, because we're talking about strong farmers, you know what I'm saying? And I panicked and I ran on the little porch. When you go back and look at the little porch, it's really little now. But I panicked and I jumped through the screen, you know what I mean? Through the screen on the porch and dropped down behind the rose bushes and I took off down the road, right? So I ran and I could hear my grandfather scrambling around, and there's a cattle gap. I don't know if you know about them, but I was so hyped that I jumped over the cattle gap, you know what I mean? And I ran on down the road. And as I was running down the road, before I got to the first turn, I looked back at my grandfather. He had leaned out the door and he says, "Where you gonna go, boy? Where you gonna go?" So I ran down the road a little piece, and it curved a little bit to the right. And I stood there on the road, on the gravel road, and I said corn on one side and beans on the other. And I just said, right, well, where am I going to go? You know what I'm saying? And so I just took off. And so after a certain amount of time, because I'm afraid of snakes, and the rattlers, they come, back and forth across the road. And so I walked back, and there was my grandfather sitting in his rocker on the chair, and he sat me down. And, and he said, he gave me a long lecture about lying, about liars and hellfire and damnation and Benedict Arnold and all these other people. You know what I'm saying? And then I said to myself, wow, I might actually get away with this.
Soon as you think that.
As soon as he did. And then he reached out, and he's a strong man. He reached out and he grabbed me with his left hand and he held me up in the air with by one arm. He held me in the air. And, they just take it and just pull out that belt, you know what I mean? And they just pop, 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 and they dance around in a circle, you know what I mean? And you rediscover, everything that you know about yourself while you dance around in that circle. And that was it, but part of it was, I learned a fundamental lesson about respecting, and it's not about the beating, it's just about their values. Fundamental lessons about, about respecting one's elders, the importance of doing that, the dangers of lying, you know what I mean, and the dangers of playing with fire on the side of a wooden shack.
All in one ass whooping.
All in one ass whooping.
It had to be one. It was almost 50 years ago. I think he said 1967. You remember that clear.
I do.
Damn. Do we want to give
No,
him a
you
third
can't
question?
top that.
Okay, all right. That's it. You're the first person to get the third question.
I get the third question?
No,
we don't have time, right? What you're saying?
Yeah, we got to give him a third question. All right, go ahead. Here we go. One last question. I'm curious of what it is now.
Well, you tell the story.
The most dangerous game. What public figure, alive or deceased, would you love to have a couple of rounds of drinks with? Wow. Public figure, alive or deceased. Wow. I would love, you were talking about Harriet Tubman, weren't you? Earlier. Because I think she's brilliant, because in the middle of the most dangerous time in America, right? Single-handedly, she was returning to the South to bring people, sometimes unwillingly, sometimes at the business end of the barrel, out of captivity, And, I was reading a book about how she did it, you know what I mean? Because she was the most wanted woman in America at a certain point. The bounty on Harriet Tubman's head was gigantic compared to, even the other revolutionaries, And in the book, they were talking about the fact that because of some sort of skin condition, she looked like a very elderly woman, and part of her ability to move undetected was, although she was a young, strong woman, right? And she was bad, you know what I'm saying? She was a no-nonsense figure. She looked like someone who was decrepit, you know what I'm saying? So in a certain way, it was very easy for her to play dumb, very easy for her to look as though she's helpless and harmless and weak, you know what I'm saying? But she used that as a disguise, that was her defensive camouflage that allowed her to go in and out with the kind of ease that allowed them to be unable to detect her. I mean, when you think of Harriet Tubman, you're looking for a bad woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's going to be strong and tough and carrying guns and all this other different stuff. So she absolutely flew under the radar because she looked like the one person who was incapable of doing what she did time and time again.
Do you remember the name of that book?
Right.
I do not remember the name of that book. You know what I mean? But in the course of my research, and I do a lot of research on historical figures, I came across that story because really, how do you get in and out of the South again and again and again with that kind of bounty?
With a crew. With people.
Yeah.
Andre Braugher, man.
Harriet Tubman, he would
Harriet
drink
Tubman.
with. Wow.
Yo,
Great
thanks
story.
for sharing these stories with
Yeah.
us, man.
Sincerely.
Well, you guys bring something out of me. I don't share stories like this on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Welcome to
good.
Sway
You're at home,
Morning.
What we do? Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Make sure you're watching Sundays, 8:30 on Fox. Tell your son to reach out to me.
Yes.
And thank you for coming back to us. All right, and come back again. All right.
I definitely will. I'll see you every 2 years.
All right, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A pleasure.
All right, up next, we got John Lydon. You know him as the lead singer from the Sex Pistols. He's up next. He has a new book. You want to speak with him? 888-742-3345.
It's Sway in the morning, only
On Shade 45.